children did, like to swim, like to fly kites. Say, does anyone here like to swim? Yes. Oh, magnificent, magnificent. Are you a good swimmer, dear? Have you drowned yet? Then you're a magnificent swimmer. Come here, come here, come here. Yes, 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 yes. I was a good swimmer as well, you see. Thank you, Betrayal.
Michelle.
Oh, Michelle, very nice to see you, dear. Yes, so you're a good swimmer, are you? You like to swim?
I can manage.
Oh, do you do other strokes besides this one? Oh, this as well? Yes. I tried to invent different swimming patterns of my own.
Goodness.
Oh, yes, yes. And at 10 years of age, I came up with this concept. You see, my hands were small. And to swim, we have to push the water out of the way. That propels us through the water. You agree?
Yes,
so far, good. We're on the same page. Yes. And I thought, if I could make my hands and feet larger, I could push more water, propel myself quicker through the water. Does this make sense?
Yes,
it does. Good. We're still on the same page. Yes. So I came up with my very first invention. I called it swim fins. Yes. I took large planks, drilled holes in them, put rope through it, tied it and secured it to my wrists and my ankles, and went into the pond. Michelle, did I ever go fast? Yes, right to the bottom of the pond. I sunk like a stone because a good swimmer like this will understand you need to be able to move smoothly. This was too confining and restricting, so I flailed and sank. Luckily, I had good teeth. Don't use them as a tool. But I did. I undid the ropes and I swam my way back up. And heavens, I was all secured. So, Michelle, this would be a failure, yes?
Yeah, maybe need some refinement.
Oh, see, yes, this is an intelligent noise. Yes. And my sexuality, shall we say. I became Silas Dogood, a widow woman who took over her husband's business in Boston and turned a failing, miserable business into a huge, whopping success. All because she was a woman. You see? Yes. You see, in my day, women, we all knew, had very tiny, minuscule brains and couldn't do the things men could do. You see? And here Silas Dogood was claiming that women should be equal to men. That enough would make you drop the paper in laughter. Yes. But then she went on to say that they should also, you should be, how shall we say, ministers, you should hold office, you should help govern. Oh, odds bodkins, this was a ludicrous idea. But it was humorous indeed. And she commented on how society in Boston would be greatly improved if women had a say-so on what was going on. It was a wonderful article to the editor, and in all I ended up writing approximately 32 letters to the editor as Silence. I was able to sustain a successful living, and I challenged myself to something else, to write an almanac. Now, there were many almanacs at this point in time, and they were very practical, technical documentations for farmers. Days of the week, months of the year, phases of the moon, weather predictions. They would have predicted this wonderful, wonderful outside. So the farmers would have known to have their harvest in prior to this, you see. But there were many other people out there, and I wanted to sell my almanac to them as well. So therefore I started writing things in my almanac about the publisher of the almanac, who happened to be a wonderful Puritan by the name of Richard Saunders, who had a wife and 2 children. His wife was not as pleasant as mine. She was always henpecking him and telling him to make better of his life, and he would write this in his almanac so people could understand. And he would plead and beg with you to purchase his almanac because his wife needed to have funds to support the children. And the Sanders had a way of always being involved with whatever events occurred the year before in Boston. Yes, so suddenly people were purchasing poor Richard's almanac to find out what had happened to him the year before. It was one of the first soap operas, shall we say. Yes, and people would purchase the almanac not for the phases of the moon and the days of the week, but to find out what happened to poor Richard the year before. And along with that, he decided to give them some sage advice that he had heard along the way. Like a penny saved is a penny earned. Early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and
wise.
If you lie down with dogs, you shall wake up with fleas. Yes, and my favorite of all, both house guests and fish stink after 3 days. Please, by all means, get them out of the house. Get them out of the house, you see. And people would purchase it to find out what had happened to him. Now, I will be honest with you. There was no poor Richard. There was no family. It was all up here in my head. I was creating the stories and insisting that they be involved in everything that happened. It was almost a timeline of Boston for the year prior. And predictions for the future, shall we say. It was marvelous. It was wonderful. I arrived back in America. The first thing I did was go to New Jersey to talk to the governor himself. And I said to the governor, I said, William, there's a storm on the horizon. There's going to be a revolution. There's going to be a fight for independence. Now, you're going to have to choose sides. I will tell you here and now, I'm going to fight for independence. And you can choose to fight with me, or you can choose to stand with the king. Choose one and lose the other. He chose the king. And I disowned him. And I never spoke of him again. For the rest of my life, the man who was known as an ambassador and a diplomat, the man who could convince monarchs to support a revolution to outlaw monarchy, would never speak to his eldest son again. I am here to fight a revolution. I'm back in Philadelphia. The men are gathering to tell the world why we want to declare this war. And I am 70 years of age. Yes. And I am there on behalf of Philadelphia and Pennsylvania itself for my sage advice. And many people are nominating me to write this document to tell the world why we want to eliminate the King of England having control over us, the colonies. Just as many don't want me there as well. They're afraid that Silas Dogood or Richard Saunders or some other name I'll come up with is going to end up in this document. They think that my humor is used a bit too much, shall we say. I quell the whole issue before it become a fight by saying I don't want to write this document. I'm 70 years of age. I have never had anyone edit my works up to this point in time. I am not about to let a room full of 55 men tell me what to put on paper. So I will, however, help in this and assist, and I would suggest you use a man who is wonderful with words, a young man from Virginia by the name of Thomas Jefferson. And Jefferson said, I will take on this challenge as long as Dr. Franklin and several others will assist me by editing my works. Flattery will get that man everywhere. Perhaps he'll amount to something someday, this Jefferson. And I took on the challenge. And I, along with several others, did help him edit this document down. He wonderfully, patiently listened to all the advice of these men who had no sense or minds whatsoever, and got a magnificent document together, but it needed some changes. And one of the changes I suggested was to separate any connotation of religious overtones. He wanted to say we hold these truths to be sacred. Wonderful, wonderful, visionary, imaginative prose, but it has a connotation of religious overtones. We don't want any specific religion taking control of this new form of government we want to go with. So I said, no, leave that open-ended. Leave it up to the interpretation of the people. We have people in vast areas of different types of likes and dislikes and terrains, literally. So therefore, you want to speak to them. And to speak to them, you can't be so specific. So take sacred out and put self-evident. Behold these truths to be self-evident. That way, each and every individual will interpret that phrase their own way, and they will be right. For they will be self-evident in what our truths are, because it will be for us, not something so specific. I'm very proud to say I signed that document. As a matter of fact, I'm the only man that signed the 5 documents that established the United States of America. I signed the Articles of Confederation, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, the agreement with France to recognize us as a sovereign nation, courtesy of losing to Marie Antoinette at chess, and the agreement, the Treaty of Versailles, ending the Revolutionary War, and Great Britain acknowledging us as our own independent nation. My name is on all those documents. I'm the only one of the Founding Fathers to be on all those documents. I finally could go home to relax and sleep and enjoy my later years.